One of the strange things about the Battle of Al-Mansoura, the air battle of Al-Mansoura, in my opinion, is that it has the wrong name. Mansoura was not the primary target, I think. Tanta Air Base was the more important target for the Israelis. But there was also an attack on Mansoura, of course. Maybe the name was given Battle of Mansoura rather than Battle of Tanta because of long history. You know the two famous battles at the time of the Crusades at Mansoura, first and second battles of Mansoura, which were great Muslim victories. Maybe this is why we call it the Air Battle of Mansoura and not the Air Battle of Tanta Air Base. Another mystery about this air battle, this attack by the Israelis, is that we do not really understand, even now, why the Israelis made this big effort on this day, in the afternoon, quite late in the day, from a military point of view, why they made this big effort to attack Tanta and Mansoura. It really doesn't make a lot of sense. It has been suggested that the attacks on these two very important air bases were to somehow stop the Egyptian Air Force from providing close support to the Egyptian army. But this doesn't make much sense because these were not bases for ground attack aircraft. These were MiG-21 bases, mostly. They were interceptor bases. Another possible reason for attacking these two air bases was that they were so important for the Egyptian air defense of the port side area. But then that leads to the question, why did the Israelis want to dominate the port side area so much? There are many answers and even more questions about that. There is also the possibility that the attacks on these two air bases were, in a sense, not really attacks on the air bases, which had failed before because of the hardened hangars and the ground defense and all the rest of it. Perhaps the Israelis were hoping to bring the Egyptian aircraft, the MiG-21s, and also Mirages from other air bases, the air defense aircraft, to bring them up in the air and defeat them and destroy them in the air in dogfighting, because the Israelis could not destroy them on the ground because the hangars were strong and so on. The defenses were too strong. If this is the case, if this is true, then it clearly failed. The fact remains that if this was an Israeli attempt to defeat the Egyptian fighters in the air, then it failed, because the Egyptian fighters were not defeated in the air. They at least held their own, and in a tactical and a strategic sense, they had the victory. The point is, they succeeded, the Egyptians, they succeeded in what they were trying to do. That is to defend their bases and to force the enemy to retreat, which is what happened. The Israeli tactics against Al-Mansoura seem to have been almost exactly what the Egyptian Air Force Command expected. Though there was one other thing. Before I talk about this one other thing, there are the three first. The Israelis send aircraft in and they try to make the Egyptian fighters come up into a fight and then are pulled away from the area so that the base is almost undefended. Then more Israeli aircraft come in. They don't attack the base, they attack the defenses of the base. Then they hope to suppress the defenses. That does not mean destroy the defenses. It means that the gunners, the missile crews have their heads down because they're being attacked. And then it takes time for them to get back to their guns if their guns are not damaged, in time for the third Israeli attack, which is to attack the airbase. That, I think, is the classic tactics. One other thing which has not been mentioned very often is that the Israelis used very advanced, sophisticated, and very effective electronic warfare measures. That is why, at the beginning of this battle, the air battle which we call the air battle of Mansoura, Egyptian radar thought they saw many more aircraft than, in fact, enemy aircraft, than were in reality there. That is because the Israelis were using electronic measures and other sometimes very simple things to make it seem as if there were many, many aircraft approaching the Mediterranean coast of Egypt. In fact, there were not so many, but the Egyptian radar crews and the information that came to the Egyptian Air Force Command did not know this, so they have to react to what they think is happening. They did not throw their defensive fighters into a dogfight, into fighting phantoms in the sense of real phantoms, ghosts, aircraft which are not there. They were very cautious, stayed back, wait to see what happens. And that gave the Egyptians a pretty big advantage. He didn't get spread out, he didn't get diverted. So that part of the Israeli tactics did not work. And as I've said before, when the Israeli aircraft did come in to attack, they were forced by the Egyptian fighters, the 21st, to jettison their bombs so they could not be effective. And what this really means is the Israeli tactics were not a success. And this to me is the most important and most interesting thing about this battle, this confrontation. The Israeli tactics failed.